manhandle Dundun towards the top side. There's no two ways to say it. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether Clear can actually have a better time, because as we said, Quantum Freaks, they are reeling. Live Sandbox have their eyes on playoffs. With a victory here, it becomes almost a shoo-in for them to pick up that spot, as LeBlanc and Jax both banned away here, and the Aatrox as well as the Poppy to be removed from T1.
Yeah. Closer has been so reliant on Yone and LeBlanc. These are two of his most played in his top three, Tristana being the second, LeBlanc the first, and just trying to limit his champion pool because he has looked a little bit uncomfortable. You put him on champions like the Azir, he has 7 games on, but he's 1-6 on the champ. So I guess that's even, I didn't put that in his most played because it didn't have a whole lot of wins, but it is actually up there, of course, as well. As Maokai will be the first pick here for T1, denying that Maokai Jace, which Live Sandbox also haven't found success with, but they won't even have the opportunity. Now, Teddy has had his best season on this champion in particular, the Kai'Sa. He's 4-1 on the pick, and Live Sandbox have relied on him. It's a little bit surprising that T1 will prioritize the Maokai instead of it, considering how much Live Sandbox have utilized this pick for success.
Yeah, exactly. And now you could even pick Kai'Sa Jace and then pick Sejuani on 3 if you would like to, right? Unless T1 are planning on flexing the Maokai, they may not want to necessarily risk that. But Sejuani has been picking up a lot of victories here as well, and it's a decent 1-2 punch on the red side. If you'd like to go there, Renekton's still up and available and does feel like the highest priority top laner here for Clear or Zeus to lock in, but there is always the looming threat of that Rumble.
And they're going to get the,
Zeus is so good at.
They're going to get the Tristana here instead. Now, I liked everything you were saying because you have both Jax and Renekton, or the Renekton angle here, and if Jax is denied, you're like, okay, but you don't have Sejuani, so you have that threat there. But the Tristana here feels like a pick that Closer has agency on, and he has been the one who has to carry this team through the mid-game before Teddy comes online. So I like prioritizing this pick, going for double 80 carry here instead. The Xayah will come through in response. Now, will they actually go for Rakan? They won't have another chance at this, of course, if they let this one slip through right now. Or does Faker want to prioritize the Jace here to try to answer some of that poke? It will be the Azir instead here. The Emperor returns.
And of course, this is an incredibly historic pick for Faker, but as far as in this position of the draft, it puts T1 100% on the back foot, right? This is all about setup and control and disengage. And Live Sandbox have already got the makings of a pretty decent poke composition with the fact that the Kai'Sa has been locked in alongside the long-range Tristana in the later stages of the game. Sejuani going to come through as well for some more single-target pick and just to add some frontline, and does make Clear all that more terrifying. But these bans are going to start coming through, and so look to see whether the Renekton, the Rumble, things like this are going to stay up.
I think the Sejuani is the tier list jungle you have left. Now, obviously, the Rakan was going to be banned. I think the Renekton will follow, so you also gain a ban here as Live Sandbox, because you know you have that R4 priority. You could absolutely lock in the Renekton if they don't take it. Then you could have gotten something else like the Rel here potentially. The Alistar, also I think a strong pick in this scenario. Now, the final ban here for Live Sandbox is going to be quite interesting. We'll see what, with this Rel ban, that Keria will end up playing here in this Xayah lane. As it's not an easy ban for Live Sandbox. I think the Renekton one is a pretty simple choice for T1. But this Live Sandbox one is a little bit trickier. Maybe you ban Nautilus?
Rumble. Nautilus or Rumble, I think, were going to be the options here. I assume that they will pick support on 4 and then wait until Zeus has picked something, see what it's going to be, and then react accordingly. We know that Clear actually has a pretty expansive champion pool. The man has a 100% win rate on Nasus, for example. Yeah, that's a sample size of 1 classic Atlas stats,
what if they
I was like, what if it's a Nasus angle? I don't think
it's a Nasus angle, but what if they go Sejuani Viego, put Sejuani top? Could be an angle here for Live Sandbox. There's still some flexibility there. You will, of course, lose out on magic damage, so they're going to wait and see, but the comfortable situation now for T1 is that they do have that Rumble to lock in with Maokai set up. The Leona feels like great engage into that. You can get on top of that squishy backline. And it looks like instead they're just going to opt into Cassante here and look to front to back as a little bit of a Xayah lover for Keria. We know he's been playing this a lot, but it will be wrong.
Man! And the lock-in comes in right as he switches, and it's going to be... Like, there is no going in on this composition. There's literally 0 going in. It is all, don't come in. We just prefer to stay in our house, actually. That's what this comp says. It is a shut-in. It's a bunker. It's just a bunker draft. That's all it is. Live Sandbox are a like bomby knocker draft, though. They're demolition crew. Now, they're looking to cut things down. And oh my goodness, the classic Gwen.
Yeah, the problem with locking in this Cassante here is you allow Clear to have a fantastic matchup and solve the... I mean, like, it's Kaisa, so you have some magic damage, right? But you get to now really have both damage types quite nicely here. Your composition is well-rounded here as Live Sandbox. You have also a second frontline champion here on top of the Sejuani, because you've got Leona, you've got Sejuani, Gwen just gets into the thick of things, and eventually you have so many champs to block that Maokai ultimate, and the Emperor's Divide, of course, has to be used defensively against potentially Kaisa dive. Gotta watch out for that Leona. So Gwen's she's gonna get in there, and unfortunately for Xayah, she's so low range that kiting this out is so difficult to play. I think T1 have a great composition in its own isolation, but what Live Sandbox got feels so fantastic into T1's comp.
Yeah, the thing about it is it's a kind of a beautiful comparison of two very different styles, right? You've got dive, dive, dive with some split push options in the Gwen there as well, who will be that side lane threat. That guy's guns are absolutely massive. You also have T1, who have we want to set up around an objective. They have saplings in order to try and get in there safely. They have the door to block the poke from the Kai'Sa and things like this. In theory, and protect the president should be relatively possible. Not to mention Zeus can be running amok on this Cassante, and things could go very, very wrong for Live Sandbox if one of these champions gets ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of pressure on Zeus to actually get a lot of engage done, even though he is playing the Cassante here. He's got to follow up on some of these big ults coming through from Oner.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Let's jump into the Rift and witness game number 1. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure why I said witness game number 1, because we will be, I guess, actively involved in the commentary of game number 1.
We'll witness it and then speak about it.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of happening at the same time, right? Yeah. As we got the little elf Tristana, like the throwback to one of the oldest Winter Veil type situations there. Was it called Winter Veil?
I don't know.
I just called it Christmas the whole time. So
that's what I always think.
Yeah.
Every time it's slightly Christmas related, it's just the Christmas skin to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas Maokai, Christmas Braum.
Yeah.
You know.
They were that was like the year after when Riot's skins team had improved a lot, and then you got all of these extra particles, whereas like, I mean, Tristana there kind of looks a bit like a recolor, and it certainly did before her visual update.
It's the Link skin.
It is actually just it's the Legend of Christmas skin.
Yeah,
you know? The Legend of Christmas. With a gun.
Yeah.
Everyone's always fantasized about that. It's like, what if he had a gun instead of a sword and a shield? As Rocket Jump does bring Closer forward, has taken the W first. We have seen a few different starts. The W first seems to be the most popular for getting aggressive in this lane. And with Sand Soldiers down, if he walks out of the way of them, these trades do become quite comfy.
Yeah, this is a matchup that's absolutely a hands matchup, but obviously the Tristana has a little bit more agency than the Azir because the Azir Sand Soldier placement.
No! Oof. That was not it.
The Sand Soldier placement is kind of predictable, and you can play around it, whereas Azir, you know, is not going to be able to match that auto attack damage, obviously, when he doesn't have his soldiers in range. So Faker has really opted himself into a champion that's pretty standard and usually gets a lot of agency for free, but a matchup actually into the Tristana where his hands will be tested. As you know, you can jump over the Emperor's Divide, for example. We've seen that go both ways. This matchup has been so interesting here in the LCK.
Yeah. We also have to mention the fact that Clear is on his Gwen. He hasn't played it so far here in the LCK, but has played it 9 times outside of it in Challenger and things like that. Currently has about a 66% win rate. His Gwen has always been pretty good. As we're going to have a look at Faker's win rate statistics. Doesn't have Emperor's Divide, unfortunately, so he doesn't need to be quite as scared of the shifting sands, but gets himself the shield, and Faker will win out in the trade in the end.
Yeah, that was really clean, using the shield like that as well, right when Closer was going in at level 3. Faker playing that very well procs the Conqueror at the end of it, and so Closer just can't stick around for more. That was really well played by Faker, handling it so quickly. Willer here.
He's on a ward. He is going to be able to steal away the red, as Oner is going to move on in, and Arctic Assault gets Willer out of there. But that was almost extraordinarily close. As you can see, Oner does have the smite.
Yeah, it could have been really problematic, of course, with Guma and Keria being able to come over there. Might have forced a flash, but instead he'll just get away with it.
Yeah, somehow that Winter's Bite didn't hit Kyle and actually hit Teddy. But looks like Live Sandbox are going to be all right. Both junglers in the vicinity. And you can see Oner now backing on a ward. Clear losing out on this one in the early stages. Of course, this was one of the original counters to the Cassante. Didn't really work at first because Cassante's numbers were absurd. But then sort of developed into something that could figure things out. But the main thing is the fact that you outscale as far as damage is concerned.
Absolutely. And, like, obviously there's a scenario where Gwen is kind of deceptively a champion that is very difficult to dive because she actually does so much. And when she gets lifesteal, it's problematic as closer.
Yeah, Faker is going to take a fair decent chunk from that explosive charge as Oner is going to get missed on that Scryer's Bloom. Closer still playing aggressively because of it. False sense of security maybe as now Teddy could be in trouble. Stun comes through onto Kyle, and that is a lot of aggression here towards this bottom side. But Faker has to go home. He's going to be teleporting back, but Closer getting some free time with this turret. It's going to be half a plate. Doesn't give you half the money, unfortunately, but it does get half a plate.
That would have been really problematic for Closer if Oner commits in there, gets his flash. He already teleported, whereas Faker did not. So that was a really nice timing for Oner to come over there, as if Closer ends up getting chunked out and then has to walk back to lane. Faker has his TP and will be absolutely fine with it, but they don't commit. And over here, this early game is going pretty well for Keria and Guma. The Q damage for the Braum, you know, kind of a meme, but actually really relevant in this case, as he's hitting a lot of that poke here in this early laning phase and chunking them out.
Might even be able to stop a back or two here, but no, isn't going to go for it, as T1 just want to get the shove in and get a recall themselves. Will be able to do so. And Teddy actually going to stay here and catch the wave.
And Clear going to back here as well. Teleport back into lane. Won't be able to pick up a Leer yet.
Not quite, as Faker will take a full explosive charge here from Closer, who is really playing aggressively in this lane. Really do like to see it. We do only have, you know, there's half the mid laners here in the LCK that have their Tristana license. I believe Closer has been up and down with his performances, sometimes leaping to his demise, other times finding those resets. As he is going to dive forward, Emperor's Divide is going to get flashed. As you can see, Keria going to get booped back by the Buster Shot from Closer. So no first blood just yet, but Flash now down on Closer.
A really interesting way to get the Flash out of the Tristana, let's just say, for Faker, is he's very quick to Emperor's Divide there, and if the Flash isn't perfect, Closer dies. He still loses his Flash. Faker is just like, thank you for the trade, and bit of an unfortunate scenario here for this Tristana, as Kyle...
Jonas Strong is very interested in Shellfish at the moment. He's like, that's where the Rift Scuttler comes from. Perhaps we were like, it was like a nature documentary or something like that.
Did he steal the Scuttle? I don't think so.
Well, no one did. The Scuttle doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't know what, that was a bit strange, but...
Maybe the Scuttle actually just vacated. It was thinking about turning up here, and instead, it's like, nah, I'm going topside. No.
Yeah,
As just spawned up there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the crystal in his inventory that is being discussed right now by the Korean commentators and other. I don't know. We don't have context on this one. The Korean follow, not us. So,
it's like that's not even where the Scuttle is. So.
Yeah, that was. I'm not sure. But you know, if we missed something, please let us know.
He has his own little narrative, right? I actually took the elevator up to Lol Park with him today, so he is actually here. Him and Kison, actually, our two resident observers, outside of Yundo, who is our resident challenger observer.
Yeah, and he also does, of course, a lot of replay editing and stuff like that for us on the space. So kind of an observer in that way, as he's one of our global producers. Clear's not having the greatest time in this early laning phase, by the way. Zeus kind of crushing him. This is a matchup that generally eventually gets pretty favorable for Gwen, and you know, obviously later on it will be by default, but usually you don't fall this far behind in farm. Zeus is kind of having his way with him. He is going to be able to catch this wave, so he'll catch up some of that, but Zeus is really feeling like he does not mind this Gwen counter pick at all whatsoever. And obviously it's going to get harder as those items come along and Gwen can actually start to take those extended trades. But this is a matchup that you want to be having a little bit of pressure in towards the mid game, and Clear being a little bit far behind here means Faker's got control mid, Zeus has control top, Guma's got control bottom here with Keria, and they're winning all three lanes. I mean, that's the main reason why you see the significant gold lead here for T1 here at 8 minutes.
Yeah, we mentioned already as well that the draft really does work very effectively if you are ahead. If you get to just continue playing out this slow game and getting incremental advantages, Oner is going to be able to move in and grab himself the Rift Herald, and Willa will take a Brambleback in response. Not exactly the greatest of trades. Keria is going to come on over and show him the door, or the fireplace, or whatever it is. And they're just going to do some battle. Willa is going to be able to secure this, and Keria is going to be able to take down this control ward as well on his way out.
It might be a bridge too far to try to come over and take this Raptor camp. He will leave the premises. Kyle is coming up, but Zeus just has no fear. Will actually be able to avoid that Q damage as well. And man, he just looks so confident today. And it's weird. Okay, Faker, nice dodge.
Yeah, ult is just going to miss, and Faker shifts the sands, and he's going to be absolutely fine. No worries there at all. Still had Flash available, so we don't know whether that was necessarily going to be a kill, as Clear does dodge out of the way of the third Q. And Closer's Flash is going to be up in about a quarter of its cooldown, so he's going to be flashable relatively soon. Yeah. Live Sandbox down about 1,000 gold, though, as Closer looks to escape, and he's going to be able to do so. Emperor's Divide could have almost gotten him there, but does have the buffer of the W, and so wouldn't have actually worked out.
I mean, Faker just really has this insane mastery of his year, and the kind of master versus apprentice relationship is still, you could feel it right in this matchup against Closer here, where he has just shut him down at every turn. Zeus, the veteran top laner now, going to get a plate, is over here.
Finding some aggression as Gumayusi does still have Featherstorm available as he flashes. Guma is finally going to use it, but he will get taken down. Teddy gets into the brush there as well as Keria is in trouble, and Leona's going to follow him. That is going to be the kill going over to the jungler. Two swift ones for Liv Sandbox exactly when they needed it.
Okay, see if Faker can make a play happen here. Nope. Rocket Jump going to allow Closer to get away, but you know, you played deep into the fact that Closer's Flash wasn't available there and pushed into the Raptors. You showed yourself as Oner, so they see an opportunity. Willer's like, yeah, I don't have ult, but I know that Oner is topside, so they just collapse down here, and Keria is away from Guma. Willer has vision of this, and Guma almost outplays it. Actually, so sick from him, but it's ultimately not enough, unfortunately. It will be 2 kills going over to Live Sandbox down here. Just a great reaction from Willer going, okay, they might feel a little bit too safe because I don't have my ult. Missed Faker there. Oner shows in the mid lane, and then they make the play happen bottom side. Shiv now online here for Teddy, who doesn't, unfortunately for him, pick up either of those kills.
Yeah, it does have a couple of assists, but getting some money onto the Sejuani will make her more tanky for that front line, and I think that Teddy should be able to get some kills later in the game. We've had some Kai'Sa experiences in the past. Clean up not too hard, as Rift Herald going to be able to get a bit of a charge here. I believe all the money goes over to Oner as Faker wasn't quite in the vicinity, but maybe I just missed the animation. Still, Closer having to tidy this one up, as a few plates now falling. You can see Clear also coming back to a turret that does have a bunch of minions there, and he is down a long way. Zeus, like you said, absolutely destroying.
He just put the pressure on non-stop, so Clear could never get a safe recall off to grab his Leeching. Lear now has it and a blasting one, but didn't have it quickly enough to make an impact. Now you see Zeus could just walk back to lane here without using his teleport with his Frostfire Gauntlet, and you know, I mean, he has the ability to join this Drake fight as well. Liv Sandbox want this so desperately to try to stack up 2 and have that advantage going into a potential large soul here. It's not going to be Hextech, we know that, but could be Infernal, would be massive for this team composition. And you always have to be aware that, you know, there's a possibility that Zeus could teleport in. Now, I like that Clear backs out of the lane and grabs this Krug camp, because now he's not showing on the map. They're not 100% sure where he is. So that unknown information here for T1 is also quite valuable for Liv Sandboxes. Now they're going to commit.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp coming forward here as the ulti does come through. Teddy going to avoid it there relatively well. Teleport's coming in as Zeus turns up. Has a Q3, and Kyle says, I think I'm going to have to sacrifice myself for this one. As, look at that, the Rift Scuttler was doing a dragon impression. That was kind of cute. Still, Liv Sandbox do manage to get themselves the first 2. Not the end of the world for T1, and they get themselves on the board when it comes to kills.
Yeah, and the teleports for both top laners coming in simultaneously, but there's not enough control for Liv Sandbox to put Clear where Gwen wants to be at this stage of the game, where Zeus gets right into the thick of things and is able to help set up for that engage. And the lead here in the top lane continues, as he'll also be able to get back faster.
That's a killer instinct, as Gumayusi does have his ultimate available. Still, Teddy just trying to put him in his place there, as you can see. Thankfully for Guma, he does manage to hold on to that R button for use in a later situation or scuffle.
Very scary moment there, but Guma's handling the pressure quite well. I love the kind of narrative battle we have here, though, in this series. It feels pretty cool to watch, especially when it's so important for Live Sandbox like this to win this series to get playoffs, as Clear here still doesn't have that Mythic just yet, as Crown gets picked up, Kraken Slayer gets picked up here. He's 850 gold behind and just hasn't been given any resources from this Sejuani. Permafrost pretty good with Gwen if you could stack that up and look for that value, but he's been a little bit busy trying to keep the bot and mid lanes from falling apart here, as Faker also has really been crushing the lane thus far.
Yeah, he's been doing very well. We're going to have a look at this fight one more time.
Notice the TP angles here for both top laners. See that Zeus goes straight into the thick of things because T1 have control, whereas for Clear, he decides to teleport onto a flank ward, but the rest of the team has already vacated the premises, so he gets no value out of this teleport whatsoever, whereas Zeus helps them secure the kill.
Yeah, and it's a little bit rough, right? If the Live Sandbox communication had been a little bit quicker, then Clear could have potentially held on to that teleport button. But better to be safe than sorry in these instances. Still could have potentially got himself a bit of an advantage, as Faker taking a bit of damage there. His crown is now popped. And Closer just standing here and DPSing him down. The rapid fire working out quite well. Emperor's Divide will find him. Buster Shot is interestingly used. I'm going to leave it at that. And Faker is now still looking for a way out. Willa comes on through here, as he does have shifting sands. He's placing down some sand soldiers. There's a flash, but he does get interrupted. And there is the permafrost. Willa will lock down the kill. It's a solo in the end, as Closer, he was pretty busy dealing with this turret.
Well, you know,
bottom side.
With this cannon wave here, he's going to put a huge dent in it, if not just outright take it. So this is a pretty huge win here for Live Sandbox. Could be first brick, and I think it will be. It's Tristana. She gets it. She takes these, and, you know, Faker, you can see he actually, his mouth, like, his jaw dropped when he tried to make the outplay with the flash dash there, and actually gets interrupted by Willer. He has a little cheeky smile there as well. You know he's back enjoying League of Legends, even when he does end up getting shut down. I believe that's the first time he's flashed this game as well. He's just outplayed Closer at every turn, but this time ultimately will meet his demise, even with a fantastic Emperor's Divide. We'll watch it all happen one more time. So the Crown's going to make him feel safe, like, okay, if he all-ins me, I've got my shield, I've got Crown, I'll mitigate a lot of that damage, but unfortunately, Closer is on top of him here, and he knows that he does not have any help. The Emperor's Divide is good here, and then he tries to use his flash to get the additional dash after taking out this trinket, and, you know, ultimately gets caught by the charge.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird, but Willa able to get that Q off and just stop him from being able to get that funny business down. But it was a cute attempt. Difficult way to get out for Faker there towards the bottom side. He gave it his best effort and also denied the assist to Closer as well. So, you know, it's the little things sometimes.
Yeah. Will be the first turret going over to Live Sandbox. Only 300 gold behind now. A lot of that in this top lane. Probably all of it, in fact, is in this top lane. Zeus is now 50 CS up. We talked about how he's got two tough tests. Zeus and Degeen here clear, but this one has not been going well for him so far, but he has his Rift Maker now, and that's going to make this a lot easier, and eventually he should still be able to win sides later on unless something disastrous happens. He hasn't died yet.
And this is actually going to be the big moment, right? We've got third Drake coming up. That is going to be soul point for Live Sandbox. There is no gold lead to speak of here. Even footing. And of course, if T1 gets set up, we've already mentioned the fact that they have every no button under the sun in this composition. They can just throw out the Nature's Grasp, Emperor's Divide. They've got the door, the Glacial Fissure, all of the things to stop the enemy team from getting near them.
Yeah.
The Sandbox, on the other hand, do have that single target pick. If they can find a target, if they can make things dark.
They also have Prio right now quite significantly, and Gwen has teleport, but she's also just walking down here, won't necessarily have to use it. So this is really going to be quite critical. Can Faker have a critical Emperor's Divide here? Doesn't have Flash. They're going to use the Herald for some additional Prio takeaway here, so Live Sandbox going to lose control momentarily.
Yeah, they do manage to get this Rift Herald down. Second Herald, fantastic for trying to secure these third Drake situations. It is just going to be the turret that will be eradicated, and now T1 pushing forward. Willa has to get out of there. Winter's Bite a little bit slow.
So valuable to get this turret and turn it into Sundisk here for T1. Look at the damage they're layering in here before this objective even starts.
Yeah, manages to get a double charge as well. I'm actually kind of surprised that that is available, as Clear is moving all the way down here. Control Ward is going to be spotted as Oner will spot Clear, but he is the elusive Gwen. is one of the only champions here that just doesn't care about nature's grasp.
Teddy can't really get in here. I think Liv Sandbox should consider giving this up because, I mean, this is just a really hard fight to take without your AD carry so far away, and they're rushing it down.
I mean, Killer Instinct is a big deal. He can get there at a moment's notice if he does just get in range of that ulti, and now the Nature's Grasp comes through. That is going to be the Dragon secured, and the Glacial Prison, just not quite enough ergs on that one. Could have thrown it a little bit further there. Could have good old Sejuani, but she did not manage to do so. And Liv Sandbox will just give it up. They don't lose a fight, though, and so it is a gold advantage, but that is mainly the turret falling in mid lane.
But they're just going to get a second.
This one going to add to it.
This is what Faker brings to this team. You know, with Poby here, I don't know if you make the same call where you're like, all right, slow play the Drake. They can't get in. Yes, Teddy has ult, so maybe he could collapse on top of us, but we have so many great defensive options. Toss down Nature's Grasp, take the Dragon, and as Liv Sandbox struggle to reset and they have to back away, we'll grab an additional turret. We got that extra charge. Let's use that extra power we got just moments ago and turn it into an even bigger lead here as Clear returns to lane a little bit late here. Not going to be able to get anything in a side. Not going to be able to, for example, just say, okay, we're giving up Drake. I'm going to cross map for a top turret. He's put no damage on this turret as well. So really just not a whole lot of angles here in the neutral game for Liv Sandbox right now. And that 2 Drake lead feels nice, but only if you can win the subsequent Drake fights. They opted into the last one, sort of, but they were a little bit slow to the punch and don't really end up getting a contest.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, and if T1 continues to stack up these Infernal Drakes, then I don't really mind what composition you have. You got four Fiery Dragons and that big old buff. You're going to be feeling absolutely fantastic, as Emperor's Divide's going to miss onto Closer there. Was a little bit early, actually, to be honest, for the rocket jump, so it could have been an opportunity there for Faker, but Closer does choose the right angle, gets himself out of the way.
Yeah, just kind of safely going upwards there. The rest of T1 was there to actually collapse in, even if Liv Sandbox were grouped for the fight, but they're just going to abort. As now going in on the Faker.
Yeah, some more aggression comes down as Faker's Shifting Sands is going to be blocked. Willa doing a bit of an umpty impression here as Clear is going to fight Zeus, but it is not a fair one. The all-out does come through. Now some needlework finally being utilized as Zeus trying to get himself out of there. Gumayusi going to get sliced up. Let's see what Clear can actually do. There's the flash, gets the snip as the Featherstorm does come through. Gumayusi now trying his hand, and he will be able to finish this one off as Liv Sandbox.
They're doing better.
You got 2 in the bottom lane. We're going to take this big old purple worm, and we'll see whether they can. Teleport from Zeus will get him in here as Kyle is just trying to be frustrating. Will is in the back of the pit, but it's Oner that takes away this Baron. Faker is taken low, but Kyle, I don't know whether you're going to be able to win out that 1v1 as now Teddy is just dead, and Liv Sandbox get catastrophically demolished.
Oh man, that's a 4,000 gold lead for T1 now. Baron buff could allow them to take more of these outers off of the map, so this is going to be a pretty big power play. We consider the kills already going over. Faker lives as well with the flash, not going to go down. And this is the King of Macro back on the Rift as Liv Sandbox here decide 2 are bottom. It's a Gwen. She's got Rift Maker. She could buy a ton of time, and he plays this very well. Uses his mist to get those additional resistances here. Guma, ultimately, because he is Xayah, will be able to win this one out. Cleanse used, comes over, nice dodge here from Clear, but he just doesn't have the damage anymore. The feathers get called back. So Liv Sandbox make a decisive call here on this Baron, and with this Nature's Grasp, there's no opting out. Teddy decides, okay, I'm going to have to ult in here and hope to kill Faker because this is pretty doomed. They know they're really unlikely to take the Baron. It's basically just going to be a 50-50, and the fight gets totally split up. T1 get the Baron, get an additional kill here, kill on the bottom side as well, and now these turrets are falling like paper.
They certainly are. Closer is going to be able to take one towards the top side, but I don't know whether that is going to help you out here as T1 is knocking on their back door. Zeus going to move in, and he is an absolute monster. The unfettered Cassante just comes out of the top lane that he's been dominating and continues to do so as Teddy off to the side. See whether there is going to be engaged. Finally, Willa finds an ultimate, but still, it's not going to do anything at all, and this inhibitor will fall down. So and 50 seconds on the second Infernal Drake of the game.
It's a Gwen game, first of all. It's a 4-3 kill game, and it's a 5,400 gold lead here for T1. I mean, this is, I feel like, the best example we've had of the 3 games so far since Faker's return of the macro is back, right? Like, this team is doing it just based on better map plays, better reads, better control, better understanding of how they can win objectives, you know, and how they can move around the map, utilizing that teleport there from Zeus after pushing clear out with Guma. This team is kind of doing everything all at once, or what's the name of that movie? Everything everywhere at once. Yeah, that's what T1 and Faker are doing right now. And it's getting good reviews from me.
Yeah, no, and it was a fantastic film. You know, I really did enjoy it. I really liked Indiana Jones, so it was really cool having that guy back. Anyway, Liv Sandbox just trying to set up defensively, and this is what their composition doesn't do so well. T1's composition does that very, very well, so if they were on the back foot, we'd be like, oh, but they have this composition where if you get engaged on, you can do all of these things.
Yeah.
Liv Sandbox want to be on that front foot, as Gumayusi is going to take this dragon for free. There's going to be no response here from Liv Sandbox, who just have to defend as super minions make their way down this bottom lane.
And it's not like Clear got absolutely bodied in lane. He didn't get killed or anything like that. No solo kills going over, which would be pretty tough to do with K'Sante into the Gwen. But the amount of pressure that Zeus put on him has really defined, I think, a lot of this game. And the fact that his teleport was better in that early Drake fight has been very critical. And you could just see the experience of this top laner over Clear is shining through. He's got 70 CS the lead, and look at the plays he's making.
Two-man Q going to come through here as Willa gets slowed down momentarily. We do have the miss down for the Gwen. That's going to keep her safe and sound, as that's an ulti onto Faker, but he's just autoing with these Sand Soldiers. Kyle is very close to being stunned as Zeus dives forward, and that is Clear being taken out. There's an Empress Divide onto Kyle, but Faker just explodes, and now Liv Sandbox may have an opportunity, but I don't think so. In goes Oner. Closer goes out, though, does have the jump available once again, as that is going to be the feathers flying, and that is a dead Willa. T1 now look to push further forward, and Teddy, not a lot of options here, doesn't have his killer instinct.
Yeah, I don't think you want to mess around with this one. He knows the ults are down, but you've just got to be so respectful here. The problem is T1 will just take another inhibitor. Closer over here on the bottom side is just trying to keep this Nexus turret alive, so another inhibitor will absolutely fall at the worst case scenario for T1. They get out of here. If Teddy decides to ult in and this backfires, they could just win the game. So he has to kind of just be nearby. Let's see if they're ready to commit. I don't advise it. Guma's the only one with ult up, and that's the one you got to be worried about.
Yeah, there is a teleport available from Clear that just came up now. Closer also has his. They're just pushing them away, though, and I don't think that there are enough teleport wards deep enough to make anything actually happen. Nor do I think it would be just a good idea in general. But let's have a look at this one more time, starting off with this beautiful two-man queue.
Zeus, he pulls them in. Now it's hard to avoid this Nature's Grasp, and that's just kind of guaranteed the turret goes down, and yet he gets another Q3 knock-up here. The impact Zeus has made compared to Clear in this game is night and day, and then as they're all kind of trying to scurry away here after the turret falls, there's no escape. Faker sets up the Emperor's Divide, and then Zeus once again going in. He is having a fantastic day on this K'Sante. A pick we haven't really been too thrilled about in K'Sante Xayah comps a lot of this week and last week as well, but he is really just turning that narrative on its head.
No, seriously, and with the fact that T1 have extracted so much gold from this map, like, oftentimes it's underwhelming the amount of damage that these type of compositions have when they are a little bit behind. This is a comp that is 6,000 gold ahead with all of those utility options and plenty of damage given the extra money that Faker and Gumayusi have. Two-threat comps is something that we have been criticizing quite a lot. But it is working out here in T1's case very, very nicely. Clear gets a decent shove towards the bottom side.
They're also getting all these Infernal Drake and added APs.
Yeah, that like, helps.
The Maokai also doing a lot of AP damage here. His teleport's coming in, maybe last fight of the game.
Yeah, we're going to see whether Willa can get there, but he definitely cannot. There's the Nature's Grasp. Willa's going to flash to try and get himself out. His Closer is kind of free hitting. There's an Emperor's Divide, but it's only onto Clear, who dives forward. Snip, snip, everyone. That is going to be at least one of the kills, but it's only Faker that has fallen so far. Keria limping away. There's a big old Q. Riot, are you here? And Zeus is going to be able to pick that one comfortably up, and Oner is just going to smash back Clear. This is gorgeous play from T1 as they split the aggro beautifully. Keria with the cute little steal away.
That was a shout out to Ox right there.
Yeah, once again, it's only Faker that falls.
Only Faker dies.
In, and that is going to be the end of the game.
Oh man, Zeus' performance on this K'Sante, insane. He procs that. Gargoyle Stone Plate goes up into the thick of things, looks vulnerable. He says, Gwen popping off in a team fight? I don't think so, not on my watch. Level 17 in this game, 3-0-7, and absolutely my vote for POG. T1 crushing this first game.
Yeah, this was just obliteration. They will be able to take down the Nexus. No one